In 1972, a loaf of Wonder Bread cost 27 cents. A pound of sugar ran about 15 cents. And in kitchens from California to Connecticut, American mothers were quietly performing small miracles every afternoon when their kids walked through the door starving. Number 26 was made on a stovetop in under 3 minutes and tasted better than anything in the freezer aisle today. Number 14 used a single ingredient your pantry has right now that nobody under 40 has ever thought to eat this way. And number 2 was so universal that every grandmother in the country had her own version, but it disappeared the moment Hostess started running television commercials during Saturday morning cartoons. Some of these snacks are strange, some are heartbreaking, and a few are so good the only reason you have never heard of them is because the snack food industry needed you to forget that you could feed yourself for pennies with what was already in the kitchen. The disco decade was the last time American children made their own snacks. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel before we begin, because what you are about to see is the food that built the last self-sufficient generation in this country. Let us count down the 30 forgotten poor man's snacks from the 1970s that America left behind. Number 30. Cinnamon toast made the real way. Not the cereal in a box that came later, the original. A slice of Wonder Bread spread with margarine, dusted heavy with white sugar and ground cinnamon, then slid under the broiler in a gas oven until the sugar bubbled and turned to thin caramel. In 1973, a 5-pound bag of sugar cost about 60 cents, and a tin of McCormick cinnamon ran 90 cents and lasted 6 months. Mothers made cinnamon toast for breakfast, for after-school snacks, for sick days when nothing else would stay down. The smell traveled through the whole house, and kids came running before the broiler timer even went off. The crust shattered when you bit into it. The center was soft and steaming. Cinnamon toast disappeared because General Mills figured out how to put the same flavor into a cereal bag in 1984, and suddenly, making it from scratch felt like extra work. But your mother knew the truth. Nothing in a box has ever tasted like a slice of bread that came out of a hot oven smelling like a bakery. Number 29, saltine crackers and butter. 2 saltines pressed together with a thick smear of cold butter in the middle, eaten 1 stack at a time at the kitchen table while doing homework. A box of Nabisco premium saltines cost about 35 cents in 1975 and held 4 sleeves of crackers that lasted a week. Mothers kept the box on top of the refrigerator and pulled it down whenever a child complained of hunger between meals. The butter had to be cold and hard so it would not soak through. The salt on the cracker tops hit the tongue first, then the cool fat of the butter, then the dry crunch that made you reach for another stack immediately. Saltines and butter were the snack of every doctor's waiting room, every grandmother's living room, every quiet afternoon in front of the television. The combination vanished when Ritz Bits and Goldfish crackers convinced kids that snack crackers needed to be small and pre-flavored. They never did. Number 28, sugar on a grapefruit half. Cut a grapefruit in half, sprinkle the cut side with white sugar until it forms a thin crust, and eat it with a serrated spoon. In 1974, a Florida grapefruit cost about 15 cents and was sold by the dozen at every supermarket from Maine to Oregon. Breakfast tables across America had grapefruit halves on small plates with a cherry in the center and a layer of sugar dissolving into the pink juice. The sugar cut the bitterness just enough to make the fruit taste like dessert, and the spoon dug into the segments and pulled them clean from the membrane in one satisfying motion. Children who refused fruit any other way would eat a sugared grapefruit. Mothers knew this. The grapefruit half disappeared from American breakfast tables when packaged fruit cups and yogurt tubes took over. but on a cold morning in February, a sugared grapefruit half still tastes like sunshine in a bowl. Number 27. Graham crackers and milk. 4 graham cracker squares broken into a tall glass of cold milk and eaten with a spoon once they had softened just enough to scoop. A box of honey-made graham crackers cost about 40 cents in 1976. Every household had one in the cabinet next to the cereal. Kids made this snack themselves. It was one of the first things a 5-year-old could prepare without help, and it taught a generation of American children that food did not have to come from a bag with a cartoon mascot on it. The graham crackers turned soft on the bottom of the glass while the top stayed crisp, and the milk soaked up the honey and the wheat flavor until it tasted like liquid cookie dough. Graham crackers and milk vanished when packaged pudding cups arrived. The pudding cups never held a candle to it. Number 26. The fried bologna sandwich. A slice of Oscar Mayer bologna cooked in a hot cast iron skillet until the edges curled up and the center turned golden, then slapped between 2 slices of white bread with a thin layer of yellow mustard. In 1973, a pound of bologna cost about 65 cents and could feed a family of 5 for 2 days. The trick every mother knew was to cut a small X in the center of the bologna slice before it hit the pan. Otherwise, it would puff up into a dome and refuse to cook flat. The smell of frying bologna filled the kitchen with something that was halfway between bacon and breakfast sausage, and it pulled hungry kids in from the backyard every single time. Fried bologna disappeared from American kitchens when deli turkey and chicken nuggets took over the lunch table. But in the rural South and the working-class neighborhoods of the Midwest, the fried bologna sandwich is still the taste of a 70s childhood that nobody bothered to preserve in a cookbook. Number 25. Ants on a log. A celery stick filled with peanut butter and topped with a row of raisins. This was the snack that every elementary school teacher in 1975 taught children to make in home economics class. A bunch of celery cost about 25 cents. A jar of Skippy peanut butter ran about 59 cents. A box of Sun-Maid raisins was around 40 cents and lasted forever. The combination delivered protein, fiber, natural sugar, and crunch in a package that cost less than a nickel per serving. Kids loved it because they got to assemble it themselves, and the raisins looked like real ants marching down a log. Mothers loved it because it kept their kids occupied for 15 minutes and counted as a vegetable. Ants on a log vanished when pre-packaged snack trays with plastic compartments hit the supermarket shelves in the late 80s. Nothing in those plastic trays has ever been as fun to make as standing at the kitchen counter, pressing raisins into peanut butter. Number 24. Apple slices with peanut butter. Apple slices with peanut butter. A crisp red delicious or Granny Smith apple cut into wedges and dipped into a small bowl of peanut butter. In 1976, a pound of apples cost about 29 cents. This snack was the standard after-school offering in millions of American homes, and it required absolutely no cooking, no equipment, and no skill beyond knowing how to use a paring knife. The cold, sweet crunch of the apple against the warm, thick peanut butter created a contrast that no candy bar could match. Mothers kept a jar of peanut butter on the counter and a bowl of apples in the fridge specifically for this purpose. Apple slices and peanut butter disappeared from the American snack rotation when fruit roll-ups and gummy snacks convinced kids that fruit needed to be processed into something unrecognizable to be appealing. The apple was always the better answer. Hit subscribe if you remember sitting at your kitchen table, doing homework with a plate of apple slices and a smear of peanut butter, because this channel is where those memories live. Number 23. Tang, not a sandwich, not a snack you ate, but a snack you drank. Tang, orange-flavored drink mix, was launched by General Foods in 1959 and reached its absolute peak in the 1970s after NASA sent it on the Apollo missions. A jar of Tang cost about 89 cents in 1974 and made dozens of glasses. Mothers mixed it cold in tall pitchers and served it with snacks all summer long. The flavor was nothing like real orange juice. It was sharper, sweeter, and somehow more orange than orange itself. Tang disappeared from refrigerators when Capri Sun and Hi-C juice boxes took over the American kid drink market in the 1980s. But every astronaut on the Apollo program drank Tang, and every kid in 1974 wanted to be an astronaut. That was not an accident. Number 22nd. Sugar cubes dipped in coffee. This was the grandma snack of the 70s, passed down to grandchildren during weekend visits while the adults sat at the kitchen table talking. A box of Domino sugar cubes cost about 30 cents in 1973 and held 200 cubes. Grandma would pour herself a cup of coffee, hand the grandchild a sugar cube, and let them dip it into the hot coffee just long enough to soak up the brown liquid before popping it into their mouth. The cube held its shape for a second, then collapsed into a sweet, bitter, melting flash on the tongue. Children loved it because it felt like they were drinking coffee, like adults, without actually having to drink coffee. The sugar cube dipped in coffee disappeared when packaged single-serve coffee creamer pods replaced the kitchen sugar bowl entirely. But every grandchild who experienced this little ritual remembers the exact taste of that first sugar cube dissolving on their tongue. Number 21. Saltines and butter and sugar. A simple variation that turned the saltine cracker into dessert. Spread cold butter on a saltine, sprinkle white sugar across the top, eat in 2 bites. In 1975, this was the snack that a child could make alone after school when there was nothing else in the house. The salt of the cracker, the fat of the butter, and the sweetness of the sugar created a tiny, perfect bite that hit every flavor receptor at once. Mothers in working-class neighborhoods knew that sugar saltines could quiet a hungry child for half an hour, and they kept the ingredients stocked specifically for that purpose. The saltine sugar snack vanished when individually wrapped cookies became cheap enough that nobody bothered making their own anymore. But food scientists today would tell you that the combination of salt, fat, and sugar on a thin starch base is the exact same formula that every modern junk food brand spends millions trying to replicate. Number 20. The marshmallow on a fork. Stab a single marshmallow with a long fork, hold it over the open flame of a gas stove burner until it turns black, crackles, and smells like a campfire. Then blow it out and eat it standing right there at the stove. A bag of Kraft jet-puffed marshmallows cost about 35 cents in 1972. This was the indoor camping snack of every kid who lived in a house with a gas range, and it required absolutely nothing except patience and a willingness to risk burning the roof of your mouth. The outside turned crispy and tasted like burnt sugar. The inside stayed gooey and white and pulled in long strings when you bit through it. The stovetop marshmallow vanished when electric stoves replaced gas burners in most American homes, and microwaves made everything faster. But nothing in a microwave will ever taste like a marshmallow you toasted yourself over a real flame in your own kitchen. Number 19. Vienna sausages on toothpicks. A can of Libby's Vienna sausages cost about 30 cents in 1974 and held 7 small pink sausages packed in salty broth. Mothers drained the can, stuck a toothpick into each sausage, and arranged them on a plate as an after-school snack or a quick appetizer when company came over unexpectedly. Some families dipped them in yellow mustard. Others ate them plain. The texture was soft and slippery and faintly meaty, and the flavor was pure salt and processed pork. Vienna sausages disappeared from the snack rotation when pepperoni sticks and Slim Jims convinced American kids that meat snacks needed to be tougher and spicier. But the Vienna sausage on a toothpick was the original protein snack, and every cocktail party in 1976 had a plate of them on the coffee table next to the onion dip. Number 18. Onion dip and Ruffles. Lipton onion soup mix stirred into a tub of Breakstone sour cream, served with Ruffles potato chips on a glass platter. A packet of Lipton onion soup mix cost about 35 cents in 1973. A pint of sour cream was around 50 cents. A bag of Ruffles ran about 65 cents. Together, they created the snack that defined every backyard barbecue, every football game watching party, every Saturday night card game in suburban America. The dip thickened in the refrigerator overnight and tasted 10 times better the next day when the dehydrated onions had fully rehydrated into the cream. The ridges of the Ruffles were specifically designed to scoop up exactly the right amount of dip in one perfect bite. Onion dip and Ruffles still exist, but they have been pushed off the snack table by hummus and guacamole and 100 other dips that all claim to be healthier. None of them are as good as the original. Number 17. Pillsbury crescent rolls eaten plain. A tube of Pillsbury crescent roll dough cost about 45 cents in 1975. Mothers baked them according to the package directions and served them with dinner. But the real snack was the leftover crescent rolls eaten cold the next morning, straight out of the refrigerator. The buttery layered dough was somehow even better cold than hot. Kids would peel apart the layers one by one and eat them like the crescent roll was a delicate puzzle to be solved. The smell of crescent rolls baking was so iconic that Pillsbury built an entire decade of commercials around the doughboy giggling when poked in the stomach. The cold leftover crescent roll snack vanished when prepackaged breakfast pastries took over the morning routine. But anyone who grew up in the 70s remembers exactly what a cold crescent roll tasted like at 6 in the morning before school. Number 16. Cheese Whiz on celery. The orange processed cheese spread that came in a glass jar and could be spread on absolutely anything. A jar of Kraft Cheese Whiz cost about 70 cents in 1974. The most common application was a celery stick filled with a thick line of orange cheese that hardened slightly as it sat at room temperature. Mothers packed celery and Cheese Whiz in lunch boxes, served it as appetizers, and used it as the standard after-school crunchy snack for kids who refused regular vegetables. The flavor was sharp and salty and not really like cheese at all, but the combination of cold, crisp celery and warm orange spread was somehow exactly right. Cheese Whiz on celery disappeared when string cheese and individual cheese cubes took over the lunchbox market. But the orange jar still sits on supermarket shelves today, waiting for someone to remember how good it tasted on a celery stick at 3 in the afternoon. Number 15. Saltine Cracker Fudge. Crushed saltine crackers mixed with butter, brown sugar, and chocolate chips, then baked into a thin sheet on a baking pan and broken into pieces like brittle. A sleeve of saltines and a bag of Nestlé chocolate chips together cost about $1 in 1976 and produced enough cracker fudge to feed a family of 6. Mothers made this snack for church potlucks, school bake sales, and weekend movie nights at home. The salty cracker base balanced the sweetness of the chocolate and brown sugar in a way that felt accidentally genius. Modern food bloggers have rediscovered this recipe in the last few years and renamed it Christmas crack, as if it were a new invention. It is not. Your mother was making it in 1973 on a Tuesday afternoon for absolutely no reason other than that she had crackers and chocolate chips in the pantry and 40 minutes to kill before dinner. Number 14. Cottage cheese with canned peaches. A scoop of Breakstone cottage cheese on a small plate with 2 halves of Del Monte canned peaches arranged on top, syrup and all. In 1973, a tub of cottage cheese cost about 50 cents, and a can of sliced peaches ran about 30 cents. This was the diet snack of 70s America, eaten by women trying to lose weight and by children who actually preferred the cool, creamy combination to anything sweeter. The cottage cheese was lumpy and salty. The peaches were soft and sweet, dripping with thick syrup that pooled around the cheese. Cottage cheese and peaches disappeared from American refrigerators when Greek yogurt with granola took over the diet snack market. But the original combination is still better, and you can make it tonight for under $2. Number 13. Toasted marshmallow sandwich. 2 graham crackers, a square of Hershey's chocolate, and a marshmallow toasted over the gas stove burner pressed between them. A modified s'more made indoors in the kitchen on a Tuesday in February when there was no campfire and no campground and no summer in sight. A box of graham crackers, a Hershey bar, and a bag of marshmallows together cost about $1.20 in 1975 and produced enough indoor s'mores to satisfy a family of 4. Mothers made these for sleepover parties, for sick days, for any time a child needed a small piece of summer in the middle of winter. The chocolate melted into the hot marshmallow. The graham cracker turned slightly soft from the heat. The whole sandwich collapsed in your hand as you ate it. Indoor s'mores disappeared when pre-packaged s'mores kits with disposable trays took over the grocery store. The kits never delivered the magic of standing at your own gas stove with a long fork and a marshmallow and a parent who loved you. Number 12. Frozen Cool Whip eaten with a spoon. A tub of Cool Whip cost about 60 cents in 1974. Mothers bought it to top desserts, but kids learned that if you opened the tub straight from the freezer and ate it with a spoon while it was still hard, it tasted exactly like vanilla ice cream, with no calories and no bowl required. The frozen whipped topping was light and airy, and it dissolved on the tongue in a flash of sweet vanilla cream. Kids would sneak spoonfuls when their mothers were not looking, and the missing scoops were almost impossible to detect because Cool Whip naturally settled into whatever shape the tub allowed. Frozen Cool Whip disappeared as a snack when actual ice cream became cheap enough to buy in 2-gallon tubs at the warehouse club. But anyone who grew up sneaking Cool Whip from the freezer still remembers the exact texture of that first cold spoonful. If this is bringing back memories, do me a favor and hit that like button right now, because this is exactly the kind of forgotten food this channel exists to bring back. Number 11. Saltine crackers and tomato soup. A bowl of Campbell's tomato soup with a sleeve of saltines crushed on top until the crackers turned soft and absorbed the soup and formed a thick stew of tomato and cracker mush. A can of Campbell's condensed tomato soup cost about 15 cents in 1973. A sleeve of saltines added another 9 cents. For under a quarter, a mother could feed a hungry child a hot meal that filled the stomach and warmed the body on a cold afternoon. The saltines absorbed the tomato flavor and turned into something halfway between a dumpling and a noodle, and the soup itself thickened into a chowder consistency that was infinitely more satisfying than the thin original. Tomato soup with crackers vanished as a quick snack when canned soup got more expensive and microwave meals took over the lunch hour. But every American child of the 70s remembers exactly what a bowl of tomato soup with crushed saltines tasted like on a winter Saturday afternoon in front of a black and white television. Number 10. Jell-O with fruit cocktail suspended inside. A box of Jell-O cost about 11 cents in 1972. A can of Del Monte fruit cocktail ran about 30 cents. Mothers dissolved the Jell-O in hot water, stirred in the drained fruit cocktail, and poured the whole thing into a glass mold to set in the refrigerator. The result was a wobbly, translucent dessert with cherry halves, grape pieces, and pineapple chunks suspended like tiny fossils inside the colored gelatin. Every church potluck, every Thanksgiving dinner, every birthday party in 1975 had a Jell-O mold on the table. Kids ate the fruit pieces first, then chased the gelatin around the plate with a spoon. The Jell-O fruit mold disappeared from American kitchens when fresh fruit became year-round, and the very idea of suspending peaches in colored gelatin started to feel strange. But your grandmother's Jell-O mold was a thing of beauty, and nobody under 30 has ever experienced the specific joy of biting through a wiggling cube to find a maraschino cherry hiding inside. Number 9. Bread and milk in a bowl. Tear up 2 slices of white bread into a bowl, pour cold milk over the top, sprinkle with sugar, and eat with a spoon like cereal. In 1973, this was the snack that mothers made for children who were sick or hungry or just bored, and it cost less than 5 cents per serving. The bread soaked up the milk and turned soft and pillowy. The sugar dissolved into the milk and made every spoonful sweet, and the whole bowl tasted like warm comfort even when the milk was cold. Bread and milk was the snack of grandmothers who had grown up in the Depression and never stopped believing that bread and milk could fix almost anything. It vanished when sugary breakfast cereals like Cap'n Crunch and Lucky Charms convinced American children that breakfast had to come from a box with a cartoon character on the front. But bread and milk in a bowl was always the better answer, and any 70s kid who ever ate it during a stomach flu still remembers how it felt going down. Number 8. Saltine crackers with a slice of American cheese. The single ingredient that nobody under 40 thinks to put between bread or on a cracker. A slice of Kraft American cheese on a saltine, eaten cold straight from the refrigerator. A pack of Kraft singles cost about 70 cents in 1974 and held 12 individually wrapped slices. Mothers used them in grilled cheese and on burgers, but the snack version was simple. Peel off 1 slice, fold it in half, place it on a saltine, eat in 2 bites. The salt of the cracker and the cool processed cheese together created a snack that took 10 seconds to assemble and held a child over until dinner. Kraft singles on saltines disappeared when string cheese and pepperoni snack packs took over the after-school market. But every kid who ever folded an American cheese slice in half and pressed it onto a salty cracker knows exactly what perfection tasted like in 1976. Number 7. Coffee with milk and sugar for kids. Not a snack exactly, but a small ritual that every kid raised in the 70s experienced at least once. Grandma poured herself a cup of coffee from the percolator, then poured a small amount into a children's mug, added a heavy splash of milk and 2 spoonfuls of sugar, and handed it to the grandchild as if they were being initiated into adult life. A pound of Maxwell House coffee cost about $1 to $20 in 1973, and it lasted 2 weeks. The coffee for the kid was barely brown, mostly milk, sweet enough to drink in 3 gulps, but it carried the smell of the percolator, the warmth of the mug, and the feeling of being included in something grown up. Kid coffee disappeared when child psychologists in the 80s started warning parents about caffeine, and now no grandmother in America would dream of giving a 5-year-old a sip of coffee. But the kids who got that small mug of milky, sweet coffee in 1975 still remember the exact taste, and they remember the grandmother who poured it. Number 6. Pretzels dipped in mustard. Hard pretzels dipped in yellow mustard. A bag of Snyder's hard pretzels cost about 45 cents in 1974. A jar of French's yellow mustard ran about 30 cents. Together, they created the snack that defined every Pennsylvania kitchen and every Midwestern living room during football season. The hard, salty pretzel scooped up a thick layer of yellow mustard, and the combination of crunch and sharp tang and salt created a flavor that no chip and dip combination has ever equaled. Mothers in Pretzel Belt America kept a bowl of hard pretzels on the coffee table at all times, with a small dish of mustard right next to it for dipping. Pretzel and mustard vanished from the American snack rotation when flavored chips and dips with 12 ingredients took over the supermarket. But in the small towns of central Pennsylvania, where the Snyder's factory still stands, the pretzel and mustard combination is still the right answer for a hungry afternoon. Number 5. Ritz crackers with peanut butter. 2. Ritz crackers pressed together with a thick layer of peanut butter in the middle, eaten in stacks of 4 or 5 at a time. A box of Ritz crackers cost about 55 cents in 1975. A jar of Skippy ran about 60 cents. The buttery, rich Ritz cracker against the dense, salty peanut butter created a sandwich cookie that was somehow better than any actual sandwich cookie sold in a package. Mothers made this snack for car trips, for lunch boxes, for after-school energy bursts before sports practice. The combination delivered protein and carbs and salt and fat in a small handheld package that took 30 seconds to assemble. Ritz peanut butter sandwiches disappeared when pre-packaged peanut butter crackers in cellophane wrappers showed up on grocery store shelves in the 80s and convinced parents that homemade was inferior to factory-made. It was not. The homemade version was always better because the Ritz stayed crisp, and the peanut butter was the brand your family actually liked. Number 4. Powdered sugar donuts from the Hostess box. Hostess Donuts. Powdered sugar mini donuts cost about 65 cents for a box of 6 in 1976. They were not technically homemade, but every kid in America knew the exact ritual of opening the white box, lifting out one donut, and biting into the soft cake center while the powdered sugar exploded across your shirt, your face, and the kitchen table. Mothers bought them as weekend treats and packed them in lunch boxes for special occasions. The powdered sugar coated your fingers and your lips and somehow ended up on the tip of your nose, and the cake itself was dense, slightly sweet, and exactly the right size for a child's hand. Powdered donuts still exist today in vending machines and gas stations, but they are no longer the small ritual they once were. In 1975, a box of Hostess Donuts was a serious event in a child's week. Now, they are just another forgotten snack on a shelf nobody walks down anymore. Number 3. Buttered noodles. Plain egg noodles were boiled in salted water, drained, then tossed with a quarter stick of butter and a heavy shake of salt, and served in a bowl as a snack, a side dish, or a quick lunch. A bag of Muller's egg noodles cost about 30 cents in 1973. A pound of butter ran about 70 cents and lasted a week. For under $1, a mother could produce a hot bowl of buttered noodles in 15 minutes that would fill a child's stomach and silence any complaining. This was cheap, quick comfort. The noodles were soft, slippery, and slick with butter, and the salt brought out a flavor that felt more comforting than any fancier dish could. Buttered noodles were the snack every American kid asked for when they were sick, when they were sad, when they came home cold from playing in the snow. The dish disappeared from the American snack rotation when boxed macaroni and cheese took over the easy meal category. But buttered noodles were always the simpler, purer version, and any 70s kid who ever ate a bowl on a sick day still remembers how it tasted. Number 2, the deviled egg. Half a hard-boiled egg with the yolk mashed with mayonnaise and yellow mustard, a sprinkle of paprika, then piped back into the white. Every grandmother in America had her own version in 1975. Some added pickle relish, some added a drop of hot sauce, some added a tiny bit of sugar. A dozen eggs cost about 75 cents in 1973. A jar of Hellmann's mayonnaise ran about 60 cents and lasted a month. For under $2, a grandmother could produce a plate of 24 deviled egg halves arranged on a glass platter, paprika sprinkled across the tops in a perfect dusting. Deviled eggs appeared at every Easter dinner, every 4th of July picnic, every funeral reception, every church potluck across America in the 70s. They were the most common appetizer in the country. They were also one of the first snacks to be pushed aside when packaged snacks and store-bought party trays took over the entertaining market in the 80s. But the deviled egg was perfect, and every grandmother who made them knew it. If you remember helping your grandmother peel hard-boiled eggs at the kitchen counter, hit that subscribe button right now because we are bringing those memories back, one video at a time. Number 1, the butter and sugar sandwich. 2 slices of Wonder Bread, a thick spread of softened butter on each slice, and a heavy sprinkle of white sugar pressed between them. The sandwich that every working-class mother in America made for her children when there was nothing else in the house to give them and the next paycheck was still 3 days away. In 1973, a loaf of Wonder Bread cost 27 cents, a pound of butter ran 70 cents, and a 5-pound bag of sugar was 60 cents. A butter and sugar sandwich cost about 3 cents to make and tasted like the most luxurious thing in a child's entire week. The sugar crunched between the soft bread. The butter melted slightly into the slices and carried the sweetness into every bite. Children who grew up on butter and sugar sandwiches did not know they were poor. They thought their mothers were giving them dessert for lunch. The butter and sugar sandwich was the final secret of 70s snack culture, the one that every working-class American kitchen knew and every middle-class kitchen pretended did not exist. It vanished when Lunchables and Hostess snack cakes convinced American children that lunch had to come from a factory in a plastic tray. It did not. Your mother could make you a better lunch with 3 cents and a kitchen counter than any company in America could produce with a $100 million marketing budget. And she did, every single afternoon, for years, without complaining, without being thanked. The butter and sugar sandwich was not just food, it was the quiet love of a generation of mothers who refused to let their children go hungry, no matter what the economy was doing, or what the rent was costing, or what the snack food industry was trying to sell. Try one of these this week and let me know in comments how you liked it. Hit subscribe and join us next time.